Hey guys, well in this video, I'm gonna break down the exact steps that you need to take to make $10,000 to $50,000 per month pretty well automatic. There's really 4 areas that you need to focus on. And so with that in mind, let's jump into the content. Now, if you're new to this channel, we've worked with over 700 high ticket clients online in the agency info consulting space. I've personally spent over $7 million on meta ads. I've taken over 3,000 sales calls. The basic gist, the basic point, I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm happy and privileged to be able to share with you guys just some things that I've picked up along the way. The first thing that you need to do is you need to get attention of the right audience. Now, another way of saying that is you need to generate leads. So you need to get attention of the right audience, which is generating leads. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can do this. There's organic, there's paid. Some people say that you shouldn't use paid until you've mastered organic. I mean, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Paid is the most efficient way because it saves a lot of time because you're pushing the right content to the right people. And the key is having the right content. But organic is good as well. If you can master it, you actually become really good at paid ads too, because the way that paid ads is working is it's less about the media buying per se and changing and tweaking things on the ads dashboard, and more about coming up with really good creative. So if you naturally lean into creating content, that's going to bode well for you when you try to do paid ads. So the first thing is you need to be able to generate the attention of the right audience, and you need to do that in the most efficient way. And so the structure for generating attention in the most efficient way is you need to understand the core bottom line outcome that audience wants. So you need to understand what is the main thing, the outcome that they want, because ideally you want to sell outcomes. You don't want to sell the process. So a good way to think about this is you want to sell losing 10 kilos versus going for a 5K run every day and cutting your calories down to 1,800 per day. You want to sell the outcome. Now, once you've got the outcome, you need to then be able to position that in a way that attracts the audience in an efficient way that leans itself to do well on the platform that you're choosing to put it on. So for instance, if you're putting it on Facebook, you've got to think about, what is my audience currently doing? They're scrolling through Facebook, they're getting entertained. What is going to draw them out of that kind of, I guess, hypnotic state of just like looking at content and get their attention? And so the way that you structure your ads is really important. You take the bottom line outcome, and then you need to use these filters or these layers to structure that bottom line outcome in a really effective way. So let's say you say to a home service business, hey, I can help you get an additional 10 high paying clients every month. That is the bottom line outcome. Now, you need to structure that using these steps. The first step is you have to have a hook. The first 1 to 3 seconds, everyone knows this, everyone talks about this, but it actually makes a major difference. The first 1 to 3 seconds is critical. So you need to have some kind of pull in, something that really snaps them out of their attention and gets them to actually watch the content. It's super, super important. Then immediately after that hook, you have to start sowing loops. So a loop is where you say, in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down XYZ secret. And so what that does is it incentivizes that person to stay. So an open loop is incentivizing that person go the whole way through that text. Another thing that you can do within the structure of your ad is have social proof. So proof that your results work. Big social proof really makes people go, wow, this is legit, right? So big social proof works, big claims work, big promises. The key though is you need to be able to fulfill, because if you can't fulfill efficiently and sustainably, you're gonna get bad customers on the back end. So you want to make sure if you're making a big claim and have big social proof, then that's going to you want to make sure that your delivery is locked in. So let's think about it. You've got your hook, you've got the open loop, and then you want to make sure that you've got a big social proof factor or a big claim, and then a couple of extras within that piece. So that really does work, particularly with newer audiences. If you're working with a more seasoned audience, you want to think about it. If someone's a more seasoned audience, they have seen a lot of ads before. And so someone who's seen a lot of ads before, they're going to want to feel or see something different. Otherwise, they're going to go, I've seen it before. So have a think about that. Now, let's go over the structure again. You've got your hook, open loop, claim, social proof, and then if you're in a more seasoned audience, a differentiating factor, and then overlaying all of this is sort of you wrap it around it. If you're making like a sandwich, this is like the bread that you push the ingredients between is you need to have an angle. So you need to have a unique angle that is different from everything else in the marketplace. So if you're selling a fitness program where you're losing weight, you need to say something like, hey, what if you could lose 10 kilos in the next 60 days simply by sleeping less? People are going to go, huh? How does that make sense? And then you need, so that is actually good because it's a big curiosity hook. People are thinking, how does that work? And then you've got to be able to connect how that works to your process. So if you're able to encapsulate all of those things within the first stage of your client acquisition and getting the attention of the right audience, you're going to do really well. One thing that I'll probably add for that stage too is you want to be specific with the audience that you're looking to target. So you could say something like, hey, if you're an entrepreneur over 25K per month, that's kind of basic. You could be a little bit more sophisticated and say, if you have over 5 staff, or if you're hitting 25K per month, like you put the audience signal, which is like 25K per month, in a sentence, as opposed to, hey, attention, business owners over 25K per month. You can say, you've reached 25K per month, but you're feeling stuck. That's a better way to make it more conversational, a little bit more organic than just like, straight out calling out the audience. With that said though, you have heavy advertisers like Cole Gordon, other people as well that do a straight direct call out. So the straight direct call out does work. And I will say that in general, when it comes to advertising, you want to be more simple. You want to try and avoid being cute and clever. Simple is definitely better. So stage 2 is you need to have an efficient appointment conversion system. You need to be able to efficiently convert leads into appointments. Now, there are a lot of different strategies that you can use here. You can have a more phone-heavy approach, or you can have a more VSL or booking page-heavy approach. I think that ultimately the key is to get the lead and warm them up and get them converted into an appointment as quickly as possible. So a good way to do that is you want to have a VSL that people can watch so they get pre-sold. Pre-sold leads are much more converted than taking someone from a basic, lead form to a direct booking. The reason is you want to think about your prospects like this. Someone who is in a cold audience, completely cold traffic, is at a 0. So if they're at a 0, your job is to get them to about a 7 before the sales call, ideally. If you've got a more phone heavy approach and you've got a 1, 2, 3 call process, then the first call, you're taking them from a 0 to about a 3. The second call, you're taking them from a 3 to about a 7. And that last call, you're taking them from a 7 to a 10. And a 10 is when they 100% close. So a lot of people won't reach 10. But that's the way that you want to think about the whole structure of, once you get a lead, how do you take them from 0 all the way to 10? And you create a process to move them along that funnel. And so you can do that with the phone, because like a phone and a VSL, like a phone call and a VSL, are essentially the same thing. A phone is actually more effective because it's a real live person engaging, asking dynamic questions. And a VSL is more efficient because it's not a person, it runs all the time, but it's not as effective and engaging because it's not answering questions. So that's why you can use both. In some cases, a phone is better. In some cases, a VSL is better, right? But you don't want to be the guy who generates a lead, gets the attention of the prospect, and then never actually converts that to an appointment. So it's really important that you have a pre-call process and an appointment setting process to get them there. Now, some rules about it. Number 1 is speed is king. So you need to make sure that you contact them either VSL or either email, or either VSL or either phone call or SMS ASAP as soon as they come into the funnel. The second thing is you need to think of 0 to 10. How do I take them during this setting process from a 0, or maybe like a 1 or a 2, to like a 7 before the closing call? So that gap between the actual closing call and the generated lead is really taking them from about a 2 to a 7. So you're increasing the likelihood, or the nurturing of them, from by 5 points, 50% out of 100, or 5 out of 10. So that piece is really, really important. So the more that you can spend on this pre-nurture piece, the better. And then the final piece is obviously getting them to show up, right? So show rate is super important. Some rules around show rate is don't book in more than 48 hours in advance. Definitely have a couple of reminders. Don't overdo the reminders. I reckon 2 emails and 2 SMSs are fine. Definitely have a call confirmation. Make sure that there's a call confirmation with the calendar. You 100% want to have a Calendly reminder in there. And with those things, if you've got a good offer and you've got the right audience and you've warmed them up the right way, it should work fairly well. Now, number 3 is the sales process. So the sales process is the demo call or the closing call, where you take them through a strategy and you close them. Okay. So the key to this is you need to take them through different states. So the first state is you need to get them into a problem state where they recognize, in the same way when someone hops on the scales and looks at their weight on the scales, that they have a problem. You need to get them to recognize that they have a problem. If you have a lead who is very, I don't want to answer questions, you're not here to analyze my business. I had a lead like 3 days ago where he was like, just tell me what you do. Don't ask me these bullshit questions. Just get straight to the point. That lead's not going to close. And there's almost nothing you can do if that's the case. Like, you can kind of go, hey, I really need to know what you're looking for to actually be able to help you. And if they reject that, you can go again, say, hey, I really do need to just get a little bit of an understanding of what you're looking for. So, I know that this even makes sense. And if they still reject you, you just say, listen, unfortunately, this is not going to work out. So I'm going to finish the call and wish you all the best. And that's all you can do. You can't, people are people, right? We're not dealing with AIs and robots. We're dealing with people who have their own preconceived notions. Most of the time it works, right? So if you take people through a process on the sales call where you get them into a problem state, then you understand their beliefs, their buying beliefs, by going into what's called solution awareness. So you need to understand what their buying beliefs are. Then you want to offer any kind of reframes or challenges about what may be a potential objection at the end. So if you ask a question midway through understanding their buying beliefs and you say, hey, how do you feel about investing into yourself to grow? And they're like, I don't invest into myself. That's a problem. You're not going to close that person. So you need to address and deal with that objection then and there and say, hey, when you say you don't invest into yourself, what do you mean by that? Yeah, it's just something my dad told me. Don't invest into yourself. People say weird stuff like that. And you can say, hey, do you mind if I give you a different perspective on that? Do you think that someone like an Elon Musk grew his business by never investing into himself? No. With that same logic, do you think if you do want to grow your business, you will need to invest into yourself? Yeah, I do. Then what's the best thing you need to do to get yourself in a position to grow? Invest into myself. Exactly. And you've reframed them. That's how you do a reframe. So it's really important before you go into the actual product description and into the pricing of the product, you fully get them into a problem state where they understand their problem. You fully understand their buying beliefs so you can reframe if you need to. Then you go into pitch. Then you go into the close. So that is what you need to do into the sales process. Now, the final piece, the 4th step of this whole thing is cash collection. Now, cash collection can be construed in multiple ways. The first way is get as much as you can upfront. Payment plans don't work because there's a time money cost as well. So if they feel like it's taking too long, then that cost is going to weigh on them and they're going to be less inclined to pay more. So you want to get as much as you can upfront. The second thing is you want to be able to upsell as much as you can. And so what that means is you need to have a really good fulfillment process. If you have designed your whole business around, I just need to get as much cash as I can without thinking about the customer and what is the ideal outcome that they really want. If you build your solution or your deliverables simply around cash collection, it's going to be a bad outcome. What you want to do is really think through what are the steps that we need to take these people through in order for them to get the result. And how can we do that as efficiently as possible? What do we need from them to be able to do that? How do we need to be able to communicate with these people in order for them to be able to progress as quickly as possible? What systems can we put in place for them to be able to progress through as quickly as possible? What extra deliverables can we put in place so that they're able to progress as quickly as possible without it being a huge cost burden on us? If you're able to do those things and have a really good fulfillment to your business, you're going to collect more cash. And the reason is people are going to upsell. People are going to continue working with you. So you want to make sure that you have all those things in place. So let's recap. Number one, get the attention of the right audience. Number two, have a way to convert that audience from a 2 to a 7 out of 10 so that by the time you're on the sales call with them, they're at least at a 7. And then step 3 is convert those prospects by getting them into a problem state, understand their buying beliefs, add any reframes, then pitch, then close. And then step 4, once they're in fulfillment, you need to have all those questions answered. How can we get them from A to B in the most efficient way as possible without it being a cost burden on us? And what do we need to do in terms of communication, systems, product development, and the way we position and have all our deliverables in place to get them to that destination? If you answer those questions, you will succeed. Now, guys, if you enjoyed that, comment below. I'll actually send you a free Google Doc which breaks down this whole process and adds a little bit more detail into how you can implement this into your own business. Comment doc in the YouTube comments. Thanks for watching. We'll speak to you soon. Cheers.